Hello, my name's Dr. Keith Warner. I'm a professor in food safety here at the Department of Food Science, University of Guelph. And it's that time of year again where we get our festive spirit up and have obviously the Christmas dinner. Now, the trouble is we can get uninvited guests at our Christmas dinner. We're not just talking about that neighbour from around the corner. We're talking about pathogens, germs, bacteria, whatever you want to call them. And the four ones of major concern is Salmonella. So Salmonella is this pathogen that's built to last and built to survive. When we ingest it, it can take about 2 days. So just after Boxing Day, we'll start to feel those gastroenteritis symptoms, the fevers, the diarrhea and things like that, which could well go into New Year. Then we have Campylobacter jejuni, which is this silent killer in that it basically lives in poultry, exists in poultry, and it only takes 500 cells to cause illness. And to put it in perspective, you can get 1 billion cells in a pinhead. So when you ingest Campylobacter, it starts doing things to your innards that's not very nice, and you'll get explosive diarrhea right up to New Year's Day, which isn't pleasant at all. Then you have the silent assassin, I call it Staphylococcus aureus. Now, Staphylococcus aureus lives on our feet, our hands, and our throats and our noses, and it's actually associated with meat as well. The thing with this pathogen, if it grows at room temperature, it produces a toxin, and that toxin can make you sick within 30 minutes, but thankfully short-lasting. But then the fourth one is Clostridium perfringens, which is what we call a spore former. So this survives cooking, but it gets woken up, and it can grow very quickly, doubling time every 9 minutes, produce a toxin. And that toxin takes about 2 days to act. So we want to try and stop these invited guests coming, and we do that by following food safety tips. So the biggest hazard we encounter on Christmas dinner is the turkey. And our food safety techniques go right back to the start where it's retail. So you've got a choice. You can buy it frozen or you can buy it fresh. If you're going to buy it fresh, you have to buy it about 5 days before the event. For the simple reason, if it's longer, it'll spoil. With a frozen turkey, obviously it lasts much longer in the freezer. So the thing about it though is that when you do buy it, so you've got to get the temperature control. So if you're going for a shopping trip afterwards, which could take 4 or 5 hours, well obviously your fresh turkey starts getting warm and your frozen turkey starts defrosting, which activates the Staphylococcus aureus produces toxin. So what we do is we bring it home as soon as we can, and we'll put the fresh in the fridge, and we'll put the frozen in the freezer. But obviously with the frozen, we have to start defrosting it. And there's various techniques people use to defrost it. In the olden days, they literally used to leave it at room temperature. So the surface of the turkey would get very warm to make Staph aureus grow, produce that toxin we can't destroy. Now, other ways of doing it is to put it in the fridge, because at least the temperature control's there. The problem with that, it takes a long time. If you have a 16-pound bird, for example, it'll take an excess of 4 days to achieve. So therefore, what we do, or recommend, is that we defrost it in cold water. We do that because cold water is the best conductor of heat, and it takes about 30 minutes for every pound. So what you're going to watch out for, though, is to keep it in the packaging, but also to change the water every 2 hours, because obviously the water starts warming up. And you keep it in there for the sufficient amount of time, typically 13 hours, depending on the size of your turkey. So now it's defrosted. We try to skewer to make sure there's no ice crystals inside, because if you try to roast a unfrozen turkey, you get areas within the turkey which remain frozen, containing Salmonella and Campylobacter, which could make us sick. So you've got to defrost it thoroughly, and you can do that by a skewer to see if there's any ice blocks in there. Now we come to actually prepare the turkey then. So what we have to do is work close to the sink. What we can't do is work in too wide of an area, because we don't want to spread contamination throughout the kitchen. So we work near the sink, we take the wrapper off, and don't just put the wrapper on the counter where it's going to contaminate everything. Put it straight into the bin. And then we come to prepare the turkey. Everyone's got their special way of doing it. But the thing to watch out for is not to stuff the turkey. Even though it's traditional, people like doing it. The trouble is that stuffing makes it insular, which makes your heat transfer less, which makes your cooking longer. So cook your turkey or stuffing outside there, and you can put anything else in the cavity. You could put, obviously, herbs and things like that. But be sure to take the neck and giblets out because you don't want a frozen bag or a plastic bag within the turkey melting. So once you've done that and the turkey's ready to go, you put a foil onto it and you put it in the oven. Typically, you don't want to cook it too quickly. The recommendation is about 375 degrees Fahrenheit for every pound. So for 15 minutes, 375 for every pound, it should be good. And you check the temperature of the turkey using a meat thermometer. Always try a meat thermometer. Don't depend on the look of the turkey meat. Is it red or is it pink or is it raw? The only way to do it is to get a meat thermometer, buy one as a Christmas gift, and then put it into the biggest part, which is the thigh, to make sure it's got to 74 degrees C or 165 degrees Fahrenheit. So whilst the turkey is cooking though, make sure you sanitize the area. And I always say or recommend using about 1 cup of bleach per litre of water. And sanitize the boards, sanitize utensils, sanitize the area, and always washing your hands before you touch anything. So whilst the turkey is cooking, you can do other things like prepare the other parts of the Christmas dinner. But once the turkey is cooked, then you bring it out and let it rest for 40 minutes at least. And then you've got a decision to make. If you're going to put it on the table, well, make sure it's going to be consumed within 2 hours. Because now what's happened is that Clostridium perfringens has woken up and it'll start growing. And it grows very quickly. So typically what you want to do is keep it out of the danger zone. So if you are going to carve it at the table, make sure it's within 2 hours of roasting. If it's not going to be within 2 hours, keep it in the oven at a low setting to keep the temperature above 62 degrees C, or start refrigerating it to bring the temperature down. So you're ready to go for the dinner now. So everything's almost gone all right. And once the dinner's done, rather than go and watch the local TV and the Fireworks Place channel, what you want to do is get the turkey cold as soon as you can. So rather than putting the whole bird in the fridge, slice it up, art it, and then that'll make it cool quicker. But it's got to be in the fridge to cool it down to stop this Clostridium perfringens. And always eat the leftovers within 5 days. And don't forget, all cooked meats and that should be at the top of the fridge, not the bottom of the fridge where the raw meat usually stays. So with that, you should have a safe turkey. Now, another Christmas tradition is making cookies. I think we all can go back to our childhood and remember making cookies with the parents and grandparents and, licking the spoon in the bowl. Well, that's a fairly dangerous hazard because there's 2 hazards involved here. The raw egg, which can contain salmonella, and the flour that contain E. coli. So when we are making cookies, we've got a choice. We can actually make pre-made dough, which has been pasteurized and it's safe, or we can make it from scratch. So if you are going to make it from scratch, use pasteurized egg because that's killed off the salmonella. With the flour, what you want to do is lay it on a baking tray, put it in the oven about 270 degrees Fahrenheit for about 15-20 minutes, and that will kill off any pathogens there. Then you can make your cookie dough and people can have the spoon, but hopefully you won't make yourself too ill. So another Christmas tradition that's kind of been lost in a lot of ways is eggnog. So eggnog is like a custard with alcohol in. Traditionally, it was made very strong, and that's why they kind of even banned it at one point in 1800s because people were getting too drunk on eggnog. But obviously it's been reintroduced, and if you buy it from the shop, it's been pasteurized and it's safe. But if you're making it from scratch using raw egg, again, you've got to be careful because of the salmonella within the egg. And people say, well, the alcohol will kill it. No, alcohol kills things slowly. So what you have to do is use pasteurized egg, and you can supplement it with any sort of alcoholic beverage you want, but don't be tempted to use raw egg. So another sort of food of hazard is cut fruit and seafood. So basically what we have is the prawns and the cantaloupe and things like that. And what people tend to do is put them in a buffet, and that buffet could be there for 2 hours plus. And again, it's the pathogens that can grow at room temperature that's going to be really hazardous. So what you have to do is if you are having cut fruit or having seafood, make sure it's in the fridge. Don't just keep it on the table. But if you are going to put it on the table, just put it on a bed of ice to keep it cool. It'll look impressive on the things as well. So hopefully following those safety tips, you'll have a happy Christmas and a Merry New Year. And I'd just like to say happy holidays from the University of Guelph and stay safe.